Okay, so check it out. Today we're making a hybrid duck. Now, I enjoy Cantonese duck. I enjoy Peking duck. So what I've done is I've combined the two. Now, a Cantonese duck, Cantonese roast duck, you could do that in a day, really, right? But the Peking duck can take anywhere from 5 to 7 days. And I'm going to see if I can get it done in 4 days, combining the two techniques. So I hope you stay tuned. Hopefully I can teach you a little something, and we'll get this done. It's going to be delicious. Just stay tuned. Hey, this is Shrashira. That's the best elevator music I ever heard. All right, day one. Ingredients, prep, and fridge. Okay, so here are the ingredients we're gonna need. You would normally use dried mandarin peels, but I just got some dried orange peels here. We have Szechuan peppercorns here, a couple teaspoons of it. We got a couple of teaspoons. We have a couple teaspoons of ginger. We have some star anise, 3 of those. You see that? Star anise, 3 of those. We have a couple tablespoons of Chinese 5-spice. We have some salt, a couple teaspoons of salt. And we have a couple tablespoons of sugar. And here we have a 1/4 cup of hoisin sauce. And of course, to start the show, we have our duck. This is a maple leaf farm duck. It's a frozen duck. I thawed it out. You can't get fresh ducks easily out here, over here where I'm at anyway. So the first thing I want to do is, in my mortar and pestle, I want to put the Szechuan peppercorns in, and I want to break those up a bit. I don't want the whole peppercorn. I want them to be crushed. Even a coarse grind is good. And this is slightly hotter than your normal pepper, so don't go crazy with it. Okay, now I'm going to add the ginger to it, because I want to get these chunks of the ginger out of there. Right? Now I'm going to add the star anise. I just want to slightly break that up, so it's not in the full star shape or the flower shape. Let's break that up a bit. Okay, it's good. Now what we want to do is we want to add this to our hoisin sauce. Okay, that in there. Okay, add our other seasonings, our cinnamon, our Chinese 5-spice. Get that in there. Our salt. Definitely our sugar. Let's get this mixed up. Some nice little paste. Okay. The orange is beside it. Now let's start working on the duck. Alright, now what I want to do with the duck is take a skewer and just poke it. Poke holes in it. And what this is going to do is going to allow the fat that's under the skin to escape while it's cooking. So you want to make sure you get that. You can use a fork, If you use a knife, be careful. You don't want to tear the meat up, right? Turn it over. The back, because there's a lot of fatty parts in the back as well, particularly on the sides and near the thighs. And now we're going to take our sauce that we made, and we're going to put it in the cavity and all over the outside of the duck. So now we're going to take our sauce or marinade, if you will. And we're going to get it deep into the cavity. Okay? Put your hand in there, rub it all around. Get it all rubbed in. Now, get it rubbed on the outside. You know, the seasonings and the sugars is going to impart all this flavor to star anise. Yeah, make sure you get the wings. And I only took off the wing tips. Okay, I didn't take off the flats and just leave the drummy, but because, you know, I like to eat that meat as well. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to close up that cavity. Okay, we have our skewer here. Don't forget about our orange peels. We're going to put these orange peels in the inside of the cavity. So as the flavor will go through it. So now we're going to thread this meat. And the way you do that is you just stick the skewer through. Right? And then you twist and come back. Stick it through. You twist and come back. Right? Push it through. Twist. Got one more twist. Come back. And push it straight into the breast there. Just break off this little end piece. We don't need it. It's extra. And see, now it's all stitched up. You see? Can you see it okay? Now we're going to put a little bit of saran wrap over the top of this. And we're going to put it in the fridge. And this is going to marinate for 24 hours. All right, let's get the saran wrap on it. Let's cut this off. Just get a couple more pieces. All right. Okay, last one. All right. And on for there. Now this goes in the refrigerator 24 hours. All right, so life happens. So instead of 1 day, the duck has been marinated in the fridge for 2 days. Not a problem. You can marinate it up to 3 days. So now we're going to continue. So day 3. Today, we're going to be giving it a little poaching. We're going to poach it a bit in some vegetables and seasonings. And then we're going to hang it. And then we're going to baste it while it hangs with a nice, sweet, savory solution. Get a little of this. So what we're going to need for this step, some scallions, green onions, some ginger that's been sliced up. Now you're going to be using about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of ginger to slice it up. And here we have a 1/2 cup of white vinegar, white distilled vinegar. We have 1/4 cup of Shaoxing rice cooking wine. And here we have 1/4 cup of soy sauce. And then as a sweetener, we're using some maltose. Now, maltose is used in a lot of Asian candy making, a lot of Chinese candy making. It's not really as sweet as, say, sugar, but it does offer some sweetness. And we want to use about 1/4 cup of that. If you don't have that or can't get your hands on that, you can replace it with honey with no problem. Okay, so now let's add our seasonings to the water. Our vinegar, and Shaoxing wine, and soy sauce in. Our ginger, let's get that in. Our green onions, scallions, get those in. Now what may be a tricky part or a hard part or is the maltose, right? Because it's so thick that you might have a hard time getting the amount you need. But what you could do is just heat up the spoon and it'll help you get it out. This will bend your spoon if you're not careful. You see how thick this is? So let's get this in here. Right, get some more. One more. Should be all we need there. Let's get it all mixed in. And now once you get your maltose or your honey mixed in, it's dissolved, then you want to let this basically boil it, simmer for about 15 minutes so that all the flavors get in there good. So they can get in what to get in. So we'll be back when it's time for the duck. So now in regards to the duck itself, I have these hooks. I normally use them, when I'm barbecuing or smoking, meats. But today, we're going to use them on this duck, okay? And what I want to do is hook it right under the drumhead, as it were. Other side, hooked in there good. And this is how we're going to, these hooks are going to help us, for one, poach the duck, give it its bath. And it's going to help when we hang it, because we're going to be hanging it and letting it dry. Okay, so on this portion, you want to be careful, right? You don't want to burn yourself. You don't want to scald yourself. But you want to take some ladles, just pour it over your duck. And this is going to cause the skin to tighten up while covering it with this nice marinade, if you will, this nice broth. Right? And as you're pouring it, you'll be able to see the skin shrink up and tighten up. That's what you want. Now you can even give it a quick shallow dip. But don't leave it in there too long, because the skin will break if you do. And you don't want that. Turn it over, get the back. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put it in the baking sheet or baking dish, and we're going to hang it. Okay, so as you can see, I have my duck hanging actually in the salon. Right? My girls aren't using the salon right now, so it's a win-win for me. All right, now once it's been hanging for an hour, we're going to put our mixture on it. Okay? And at that point, when we put the mixture on, we're going to do it every half hour to an hour. Okay? And we're going to keep that up for about 6 hours. Okay, so for this sweet glaze, we're going to be putting on our duck about a half a cup of water. And we're going to be using about a quarter cup of honey. Okay? It's just that simple, right? Just add the honey. And just so it, the honey, melts easier, use warm water. If you can use hot, even better. You just need for it to melt initially or dissolve into the water. So get this mixed in. After it's all dissolved and mixed, it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. Because in fact, because you're putting it on a cold duck, you want it to be on the cooler side. You don't want to put a warm glaze on the raw duck. So look at that, nice and mixed in, nice and dissolved, just that quick. Okay, now we're going to baste it with our solution. Now we're going to let this dry for about 30 minutes and we're going to do it again. I'm not going to show you every time I do this. I mean, you get the gist of it. Every 30 minutes, give it a little basting. And you're going to do that, for the first 6 hours. Now, this is going to hang for 18 to 24 hours. Okay? And also, every time you baste it, turn it around. So that other side can get some fan action. All right, so here's the things to remember, right? So you're basting your duck every 30 minutes with the sugar solution, or actually, in this case, it's honey and water. You want to make sure that the ratio is 1 part honey to 2 parts water. Okay, it's very important because if it's too sweet or there's too much sugary elements in it, it will burn when you go to roast it. It will burn too quick. Okay, so you want to watch out for that. Also, if you're in a bind for time, or you just, don't feel like going every 30 minutes to baste it, just do it, every 30 minutes for the first, 2.5 hours, right? And then you'll be fine. Then just let it hang for the rest of the time, right? If you're in a real rush, after it hits the 3-hour mark, you can go ahead and roast it, okay? But the thing is, when you're hanging the duck, you're hanging it so the skin dries out, right? Or it gets drier, as it were. Also, another tip, if you're doing this and you're in the weather is warm, turn your AC on with the fan. You do not want that bird to get warm, right? So drop it down to 70, 75 degrees on your AC, and make sure that the bird is in the flow of air. Even though you got the fan going, every little bit helps. Now, when I'm making this, it's mid-November, right? It's pretty cool in here, but I got the fan on anyway, just to help out the drying process, right? I want the layers of the honey and the water, I want the layers to coat the bird very well. Between my basting, I want it to dry. It won't be perfectly dry, but it'll set, and that's good enough. What'll happen is, you'll notice when you're basting it, as it's being air cooled, it will, the skin will almost seem waterproof, okay? But keep basting anyway, right? You're just building a layer of goodness. So when it was marinating, the flavor of your marinade is getting deep into the meat, okay? And then when you gave it the water bath or you poached it, those flavors now layer on top of it and get inside and outside the meat as well. Now you're giving it a sweet coating, right? So it's going to be nice. Now another thing, if you are or if you're busy, right? After the 3-hour mark of you basting every 30 minutes, if you got things to do, don't worry about it. At that point, for the next 3 hours, you can change it to basting once an hour, okay? Because really the basting part is done, but I like to go a little bit extra. I like the sweetness. So after the 3-hour mark, you can then go for hour 4, 1 basting, hour 5, 1 basting, hour 6, 1 basting, okay? And then you'll be good to go. So like I said, this is going to sit, it's going to hang for 18 to 24 hours. But if you're in a rush, you can just let it hang for 6 to 8 hours, right? So there's no harm, no foul, no worry there. It's a matter of timing. If you have the time, you can get in with the get in. If not, there are ways to speed it up slightly. So let me get back to it. So this is the last baste right? And after this, we're just gonna let it dry until it's time to roast. Get that solution on it. Make sure we get the stitches, side of the thighs and the legs. Better shot of the thighs in the back. Get the wings, the back, legs and thighs. Yeah, now it's just a matter of drying it. Getting the skin nice and taut, which won't be a problem at this point. All right, back to the kitchen. Okay, so here's the deal. So we basted it 6 hours. Every half hour we basted it. So the solution's on it. Now we're going to let it air dry with the fan for it looks like about another 12 hours, right? 12 to 16 hours, and then we're going to roast it. But what we're going to do is, at this point, we're not going to baste it anymore, but every hour we're going to turn it so the fan can hit the alternative side. Okay? It's going to be nice. Yes, I know there's a lot you have to do to this. But you have to do it, right? You got to put in the work. You got to get in what you get in to get what you want. Next. All right, check it out. It's day 4. Now it's time to roast it. We're going to make sure the fat is rendered down good. See if we can get some crispy skin. It's going to be amazing. If you're still here, stay here. Finish the video. So you can see it already has a slightly golden complex to it, shade. And that's because of the glaze that we put on it, the honey glaze. It's also because of the maltose that's in it. It's also because of the soy sauce. Now we're going to preheat the oven and get this bad boy cooking. All right, let's put this bad boy in. Okay. In she goes. You want to roast it for about 45 minutes. But after about the halfway point of that 45 minutes, we're going to check it. Make sure it's not getting too dark too fast. If it is, turn the heat down a little bit. Okay? All right, so real quick, after the first 45 minutes, we're going to flip the duck over and start cooking the back for 45 minutes. And just like the front, or the breast, at the halfway point of that 45 minutes, we'll look at it, make sure it's not getting too dark, and then we'll go to the next step, which will be, naturally turning it back over breast side up. But at that point, we're probably going to be increasing the heat so we can get that skin nice and crispy. All right, let's take this out so we can flip it. Look at that. Doesn't it look good already? Now let's flip it. We're going to put it back in the oven. All right, so it's been 3 hours, right? The duck is done, but what we want to do is increase the temperature to 400 degrees. 400 degrees, increase it to 400 degrees so we can crispen up the breast skin. Go ahead and put this guy back in. And you only need 5 minutes. Give it 5 minutes. If you have to, you can go 7, but 5 is fine. And take it out and let it rest. All right, let's pull this guy out the oven. Good crispy skin. Look at that. Oh yeah, can you see that? Is that nice?